Whenever the pressure of our complex city life thins my blood and numbs my brain, I seek relief in the trail. And when I hear the coyote wailing to the dawn, my cares fall from me. I'm happy. Hamlin Garland. Hello, I'm Tamara Michelle, and thank you for watching Real Conversations podcast, created and produced in Dauphin, Manitoba. Today I was on the road again and met Steve Langston. We discuss rural rejuvenation and the exciting things that have taken place over the last 3 years in Erickson, Manitoba. Thank you to our show sponsors. Bankert Marketing, Dr. Brenna and Three Graces Medispa, Real Security Solutions, Right Side Equipment of Dauphin, Oil Depot of Dauphin, Roofs, Furniture and Appliances of Dauphin, Tri Family, Health, Beauty and Fine Gifts of the Paw, Ramsey's Health and Fitness of Dauphin, Cloud9 Canna Supplies of Dauphin, and Hearts to Nature Fine Art Nature Photography.
We are in Erickson, Manitoba, and I'm talking to Steve Langston. Hi, Steve.
Howdy.
So you are no, I know this is a little bit of a sidebar from the show today, but you are no stranger to the camera. I understand you're also a fellow film editor. You have your own podcast. Did you want to kind of just give a shout out to that?
Sure, yeah. Basically 12 years ago, I started a business called Dirty T-Shirt Productions. When I was in university, I always really liked making videos of me and my friends having fun. I went to school to be an accountant, did that for a couple years, and I remember sitting at my desk one day and looking at the clock, and it was 1:37, and then I thought I'd worked for a couple hours, and I went back, and it was about 1:43, and only 6 minutes had passed. But when I was making videos and, doing that sort of thing, I remember it being like 6 o'clock, and me being like, oh, the day's over, I gotta quit. And so it was kind of at that point that I knew I probably should consider an alternate career, and I'd been running Dirty T-Shirt Productions for fun, and I just said to myself, I may as well give this a shot. And that was 12 years ago. Got a couple clients, had enough to pay my rent, and have been doing that ever since.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that when you have a passion for the arts and you have a passion for, it's sort of a funny form of like communications and arts, right? When it comes to filming and audio and all that kind of stuff, I don't think people actually recognize it is sort of like painting with sound and painting with video, because you get to take people through your camera's eye and take them on the journey with you. It's a storytelling,
yep.
Right? Yeah. So speaking of storytelling, we are here today because we wanted to talk about some, I guess it's like rural rejuvenation. It's probably, that's how you worded it.
Yeah.
We did a little walkabout, some really beautiful places like the old church. I call it the old church, but you want to speak to it a little bit?
Sure. Yeah. So the old church, or what we call the Good Street Hall, is the former Ukrainian Catholic church in town. Essentially, people kind of quit attending. There was really no parishioners. The power had been cut, and they really had no idea of what was going to happen to this big, beautiful building. So I kind of got word of that, pulled the title, shook it down, figured out who owned the place, contacted them, and asked what the plan was. And they really didn't have one. They were either going to sell it, give it away, or knock it down. And, it was a building that was just so beautiful. It's, 30 feet high, 2,000 square feet. It's got the giant arch. It's got a second-story viewing deck. So just an incredible building. And, we kind of fell in love with it and took the opportunity to purchase it.
And we had an opportunity to go through there, take a look. I've got a few photos, obviously, that I'm sharing as we speak. And the one thing that I really noticed was it has that beautiful old smell. As soon as you walk in, it has that beautiful old smell. I mean, I grew up going to Ukrainian Catholic churches and Orthodox churches with my grandparents, and so for me, it's just reminiscent. And you've kept a lot of the character. So I understand when you purchased the place, you had to remove any of the icons, anything to do with the Catholic Church. So the little bulbous, I don't know what they're called.
Onions, I call them.
The upside down onion. Yeah, those have been removed, at the request of the parish, but you have basically been able to keep the history. It's weird because even though it's a white building, the walls are white. It's modern, but it still has that old feel, and the stained glass windows. That it's like you said, the beauty. I think about what it would cost to build something like that. Never mind in a community that you said is about 750 people. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So I mean, just to even have that here, to have someone come in and want to rescue, such a beautiful building and repurpose it for the community is just a really cool thing. And that's how I actually found you. I found you on Facebook. It's funny. I find quite a few of the people that I interview through Facebook because I saw the Good Street Hall and you had a whole bunch of musicians in there. And I was just kind of amazed to see this building full of people and music, and I just had to find out more. So, I just think it's pretty amazing.
Thank you. Yeah. So presently, we have a couple offices in there that are being ran as a counseling practice called Grit and Growth. A couple of young ladies that have moved to this region and are counselors, and they're doing a great job. And then on evenings and weekends, it's a gathering place for events. So we've had family reunions, we've had concerts, and in September we're having our first wedding.
Wow. Oh, what a beautiful place for a wedding. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah, that's so amazing. Wow. Sounds like you get lots of not just community support, but community involvement where people are actually wanting to come and be a part of it. Yeah, it's great. People are super happy. That's awesome. So a little bit more about you, if that's okay. You and I were talking about how you ended up in Erickson's, because you are what I would classify as an investor, right, in the community. So you said you didn't grow up in Erickson. You weren't originally from Erickson, but you live Yeah, we live close by. We live in Ononol, Manitoba. Basically, I grew up in Brandon. After university, lived in Winnipeg, but we had always kind of seasonally came to this area. So was definitely familiar with the place. Had a seasonal cabin here. And then once we started having kids, we just kind of made the decision to move to rural Manitoba. We were either going to work full time trying to get to rural Manitoba, or we could just move here and be here year round. And so we got young kids, and it was a great decision. I've been kind of running my business seasonally from this area, so I had lots of contacts. And when we decided to move, it was just easy, Okay. So we moved to Ononol, started purchasing projects and properties there, and we liked it, but it was just kind of an expensive spot. And one of my good friends, Eric, was always bugging me saying, "You got to come to Erickson. Why don't we look at Erickson?" And there was a little bit of negativity around the community, and I was, I guess, infected with that, and I said, I don't know, it's not a great idea. Come on, you're crazy. And he just kept bugging me, and so I said, okay, fine, let's go look. So called a realtor, went and looked at all the properties that were for sale. Found one that I thought was awesome. It had a attached garage and an ensuite, two things I'd never had in my life. Mm-hmm. And it was $75,000, and it was in great shape. So we bought it. Immediately got it rented to a great family who was happy to be living here. And I was kind of like, okay, this model works. Yeah. So from there, we started investing in other buildings. We're sitting right now at the Iris Café, which is right in the heart of Main Street. It was a definitely underutilized residential house that we've turned into a coffee shop where we can now enjoy a nice beer on the patio. Yeah.
Cheers
to that.
And a coffee before noon. So we've just really been working hard to make the community a better place, and the entrepreneurship that we've been able to employ has, I hope, made the community a better place.
And I noticed when I was driving in, because I didn't come in from Main Street, I actually came in off of that side road. I think you make a right, and then you come back in. It's a little bit of a jag, but beautiful view. You come in, there's a lake in the center of Erickson.
Leda Lake.
I didn't even know about.
For sure, right at the foot of Main Street. You're driving down Main Street, you see the Viking boat, beautiful lake in the background, and those are all things that we see as huge assets, and maybe in the past people just kind of took for granted. But it's got the town has a beautiful main street. It hasn't been what I would call bastardized in any way, partially because development just kind of stopped for 30 years. So nothing too weird happened. In a lot of places the commercial zone kind of stretches and you don't know where it starts or ends. Here it's like one main street.
There's it's like 3 or 4 blocks of commercial, and then it's just like a quiet town.
Exactly.
But the cool thing that I noticed, and I noticed right away, like you have a co-op gas bar, you have a co-op grocery store, like it looks like there's an agro center or
lumberyard,
like even that in of itself. And so you said that Erickson is very unique in that it's sort of a hub, like the if you had spokes of a wheel, it's the very center. It reminds me of almost like Moncton. If you've been out east, Moncton's like that, where you can go to all these other places, but Moncton can be like the center.
Yeah, it's the business center of the community. Lawyer,
and farming too.
A little bit of farming up here, but lawyers, insurance agency, dentists, grocery store, accountants. Basically, all the business happens here, and obviously, like Onno Clear Lake has seen a lot of growth in recent years, and people kind of forget that this is a very regional economy. Like my kids will go to high school here. My kids currently go to daycare here. If we want groceries, we're probably coming to Erickson. So it's definitely part of a regional economy, and I think maybe that wasn't as appreciated as it maybe should have been from an investment standpoint. But we came here and we obviously knew the community from growing up or spending time in the area. And then it was just like, okay, Main Street's busy. The traffic count's really good. And that was really my main metric. And people explicitly told me I was crazy for wanting to invest here, but it's that pessimism that creates the opportunity, right?
Yeah,
and I'm very good at asking for people's advice, but I'm also very good at not taking it. So it's like I want to hear about it, but I'm definitely not afraid to just move forward on my own.
Well, and it's a risk reward thing when you're investing in a community. So what makes you different than, say, a lot of maybe out of town investors or people that aren't based in the community, is that you are very based in this community? Can you talk a little bit about that? Like you said, you're involved in some of the boards. You're involved. Your wife is involved in the local daycare here, and
So it was very important for us to, I guess, get involved in the community, and a lot of what I learned about community building, I actually learned in Dauphin, Manitoba, because I've been working for Dauphin's Country Fest for a decade. Huge Eric Irwin fan. He made a huge impact on me, and it was really the Country Fest model that got me going. It was, okay, we need to create a business, and I call it entrepreneurial community building. And because it's like, as an investor, it's you get tired of chucking your own cash in all the time, right? You don't mind, but like for just like the greater community, you want to donate, you want to support, but like there's a finite supply of community capital from private investors, and so instead of I guess throwing capital into like these projects or supporting, we wanted to create something sustainable. So that ended up being the Score Store, which is a nonprofit thrift shop, which is just 4 doors down that way. My wife was on the daycare board, and they were pre-funding from the province, so things were very tight. They now have received provincial funding, so they're doing much better. Excuse me, but we're brainstorming. We're driving to Brandon thinking, what can we do to help raise funds for the community? And we just kind of came upon the idea of a thrift shop, and we like that for a few reasons. Number one, affordable goods into the community. So, there aren't many places to get clothing here or household goods. So people would have to travel for that sort of thing. We like it from the environmental perspective of diverting things from the landfill. From a aging population, it's great to have volunteer opportunities so people can feel like they're a part of something. And then, also from a tourism perspective, thrift shops are super trendy right now. People actually travel to come to the score store and visit this community. So it made sense for a lot of reasons. And so my friend Eric had recently purchased the old pharmacy. It had been empty for 5 years. So we leased it off of him, formed a nonprofit, and basically kicked the doors open, a couple months into the pandemic in 2020, somewhere along there, and have been, very successful in running that. My wife is the executive director. She's paid. I'm president on the board along with some other community members, and it's been a big catalyst for growth in this region because took a building that was empty, made it full. It draws people in, and it gives people affordable access to nice clothes and household goods, and and it's just a good news story, right? People want to see progress, they want to see action, and when you can point to something that's a good news story, it just makes a lot of sense.
Absolutely. And we've been in there today, and lots of people, friendly faces. It's very well organized. I would compare it for people that are from the Dauphin area, very similar to the Almost New store, very Main Street location. What I think is so cool is that this was actually the brainchild of a local investor. Like, this was not a government subsidy program. This wasn't, that's what's kind of unique about what you're doing here. Now, I wanted to talk about the other building that we were discussing that is going to be for food. What did you say?
Food security.
Yes.
Yeah, so the Food Security Hub. Basically, we're spending time with another Dauphinite, Melissa Stefaniou, who's a good friend of ours, and she's a professional grant writer, and she was kind of just talking about some of the great grant opportunities that were available, and one came up was Food Security Hub or Greenhouse, and that was money from the federal government. And so we kind of said, well, we have a food bank in Erickson that does a great job of serving our community. So the score store paid her and had my wife help to basically write a grant for a Food Security Hub and Greenhouse. And it was in the end successful. Raised over $250,000 to build this Food Security Hub. A local investor, my good friend Eric, donated an empty lot on Main Street, and now we're progressing through construction of this brand new building on Main Street. It's going to eventually have a greenhouse, solarium on the front, and it's going to be in possession of the food bank, the South Quill Health Area Food Bank. And it's awesome. It's they're already doing a market out of there. There's a garden out front that the community works to take care of, and it's new construction on Main Street. They knocked down a dilapidated old building. They're putting up a new one, and it's to serve the general well-being of the whole region. And so that was, like I said, that's a Country Fest model, right? It's like raise some money through a nonprofit event, an organization, and then use that to go to the market with opportunities. And Ron Love, I actually did a documentary about Dauphin's Country Fest, and it was Terry Payne, T-Pain, that he really explained it to me. It's like, when you have a bit of cash, you can go to governments and say, like, we've got some money here, like, where's yours? Yeah. And I'll never forget.
Come in with a business plan.
Yeah, you come in with a plan, and you write it, and you put a little risk capital up front, and it was obviously a huge levering opportunity to be able to hire a grant writer and come up with $250,000.
And that's really a key point, because like you mentioned, and we were talking about grant writers, like, they are so important, and their skill set is so valuable because they do know and understand the lingo of how to word things to be more successful in getting these grants. So that's just really cool. So I mean, for other people in other communities, this is sort of a really great, I almost want to call it like a pilot project, because it's not like you're part of some not-for-profit group. You're just this guy that came into town and
for sure,
saw some things but wanted to give back to the community.
And there was lots of others along the way that have helped and made a huge impact. And even just like the local citizens that were, super supportive, that were, high-fiving and saying like, this is a great idea. And, it is that, my thesis is that towns get depression, just like people get depression. And it doesn't mean that they're bad. It just means that sometimes
they're sad and,
and there's a negative voice or, whatever that looks like. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that they're flawed, and it doesn't mean that there's, they're permanently destined for this. And so, we I guess saw it as an opportunity and are happy to be here.
That's awesome. And from our conversation earlier, I understand it's been roughly 3 years since you which is a lot has been accomplished in a short period of time in that aspect. And like you said, with board members and other community contributors. Yeah, we bought our first house here August long weekend of 2019, and so 3 years to the date essentially. Wow. And a lot has happened, and some gray hairs were earned, but we're super happy with the direction of everything. Yeah, well, entrepreneurs, they embrace that, do they not? We do. They're not happy without the ups and downs. Otherwise life's just a little bit too flat. Right. You know what? Thank you so much, Steve, for taking the time to meet with me today. I know we were, kind of hitting and missing this morning on, what time I was going to actually arrive here, but I'm so glad I had the opportunity to make it out here. And for those that are in other communities, if this can be done here, this can be literally done anywhere. It's really about, having a visionary and having people that want to work together and collaborate to create something beautiful. Cheers. Cheers.
Dr. Brenna and Three Graces Medi-Spa has been inspiring love, confidence, and health and humanity since 2019. Dr. Brenna's skin therapists have the advanced knowledge required to revitalize and rejuvenate your skin. Radiofrequency, microneedles, chemical peels, and oxygen neo superfacials are just a couple of the treatments we offer. To learn more about Dr. Brenna and Three Graces Medi-Spa, visit our website at threegraces.ca or call us at 204-572-5774 for a free consultation. Thank you to our show sponsors, Bankert Marketing, Dr. Brenna and Three Graces Medi-Spa, Real Security Solutions, Right Side Equipment of Dauphin, Oil Depot of Dauphin, Roofs, Furniture and Appliances of Dauphin, Tri Family, Health, Beauty and Fine Gifts of the Paw, Ramsey's Health and Fitness of Dauphin, Cloud9 Canna Supplies of Dauphin, and Hearts to Nature Fine Art Nature Photography. See you next week.